To finish out this room in 1-point perspective, we're going to add a chair. And that'll be the very last step or last thing that we add to this 3D space that we're making in 1-point perspective. So I'm going to start the exact same way that I started when I made my desk. I'm going to start the exact same way as I did with my desk. I'm going to start with straight verticals and straight horizontals on the side that basically faces me as the viewer. So I get to decide where I want to put it. You could have it hanging from the ceiling if you wanted. You could have it over here next to the bed. You're the artist, you get to decide. So I'm going to put mine right over here. I'm going to start with a vertical that goes through my little floor plane there, goes down a bit. I can always adjust the size later, but I'm going to start with that. Now I'm going to come to the left of that vertical I just made. I don't want to be directly underneath my vanishing point, so I'm going to come over a bit from my vanishing point. And my vertical is going to stay parallel to the one I just made, or parallel to the sides of my picture plane. I'm going to draw another one about the same height as the one I just made. Okay, so I have these two verticals that I'm going to connect with a horizontals across. So horizontals across at the bottom, they're parallel to my horizon line. One at the bottom there, one at the top. And again, everything starts with a basic box. We take these boxes, we make these boxes, we bring them back in 3D space, and then we start making them look like different types of objects. So now I need it to converge back in 3D space. So just like I did here, I'm going to take the three corners, one at a time. I'm going to line them up with my vanishing point in the center, and then I'm going to draw back towards that vanishing point. So I'm going to start with the bottom left. I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center, and I'm going to draw back. Do the same thing for the top left. Top left lines up with my vanishing point in the center, and I draw back towards my vanishing point. Same thing with my top right. I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center and draw back towards my vanishing point. So now I need to end the sides that converge back, and I do that with a straight vertical on this side over here. So just like we did with our 1-point boxes, I'm going to move my ruler over a bit, keep it nice and straight up and down or parallel to the sides of my picture plane. And I'm going to do a vertical that connects those two converging lines. And then I'm going to do a horizontal straight across that finishes out the top of my big box that will become my chair. Again, I want to keep these horizontals and these verticals parallel to either the side of my picture plane, or in this case, since it's a horizontal, parallel to my horizon line. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Like when I made the desk, I made a top part that what the chair would go underneath. I'm going to do the same idea, but I'm going to put it in the middle. That'll be the seat that my butt would sit on if I were to live in this space. So kind of near the center of the box that I just made, I'm going to do a horizontal straight across on this very first square that I just made with the straight horizontals and the straight verticals. So I'm going to do one at the bottom there, and then I'm going to give some space, and I'm going to go above it a bit, and I'm going to go across, a horizontal straight across. So this is going to be eventually the part where my butt sits on, or the seat of the chair. So now I need to take this side and converge it back into 3D space. So I'm going to line up the bottom part of that horizontal that I just made with my vanishing point up top, and I'm going to draw back until those two converging lines meet. So it meets those converging lines, those verticals. So I'm going to do the same thing for that top. It's going to be super skinny on this side because it's so close to my vanishing point that I'm seeing less of this side that goes back in space. I see more of it over here because it's farther away to the right of my vanishing point. So that horizontal that was the top of my seat, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center, and then I'm going to draw towards the center. So I'm making the seat part here go back in 3D space. And I'm going to erase out the floor line that I overlapped there so you can see that as a solid shape. So now where this part met my vertical in the back there, I'm going to do a horizontal straight over. And that's going to be the other side of the seat. So I'm going to get my ruler, I'm going to line that up with a horizontal that's parallel to my horizon line, and I'm going to draw back until it meets the other side over here. So I'm basically making a box within a box. So I have to finish out this side by taking the top right side of this square that I made here, and I'm going to lightly shade that so you can see this. I'm going to shade this side going back a little bit darker so you can see that going back in 3D space. I'm going to take that corner, I'm going to line it up with my vanishing point in the center, and I'm going to draw back until it hits that horizontal that I just made. So again, this is going to be the seat where my character would sit down if it were to live in this 3D space. So that's the seat top. So I'm going to erase out, again, my floor line in there because otherwise it just gets in my way. I'm going to erase out the line that extended all the way over so you can hopefully see this as the surface of your seat. Shade it just really, really lightly. That's my seat. This is the side that faces me. This is the side that goes back in 3D space. I'm going to continue now by making the top part of the seat where my back would rest. So this part is already done. That part is already done. So I can erase out the little part there. And I'm going to push my lines a little bit darker so that I can shade this kind of on the dark side again, because that is the back part of my seat that my back would rest against. So now I need to do the side that faces me, and it's going to be skinnier than this big box because I need somewhere to have my body rest and my back rest against the back of the seat. So from this vertical right here that we constructed to make our first initial square, I'm going to come over slightly to the right of that, and I'm going to do a vertical that meets from that horizontal that I made that makes my seat up to the very first horizontal that I made that makes my box. I'm going to shade that just a little bit darker. So I have my seat back that I'm making right now. So where that line met my horizontal here, straight across, that point right at the top of this square again, within another square, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center, and I'm going to draw back. So that's the top of the seat, the back of the seat, the top of the back of the seat. So right here, I'm going to very, very lightly shade that as well too. And then I'm going to get rid of the lines that go over here, the straight horizontal there, and the converging line going back there, because I don't need them anymore. And that will help us see this as a solid shape. So again, this here is the back part of my seat. This is the seat that my butt would sit on. So there's the back of my seat. This is the seat that goes back in 3D space. And the other parts there we don't need anymore. To finish this chair, I am going to finish the legs in the exact same way that I did the legs for the desk. So I'm going to start with this leg on the left-hand side of my chair, the front side, because again, just like my desk, it's mostly done for me. So I'm going to start by doing a vertical to the right of the vertical that I first made to make this big square. I'll leave a little bit of space. I'm going to start underneath my seat, and I'm going to drop it down until it hits that line, that horizontal line that is my floor. And again, I'm going to lightly shade this one because this is the side of the chair that faces me as the viewer. Then, on the left-hand side of that first vertical that I made to make this square, I'm going to go over from that a little bit, and I'm going to do a vertical straight down from that underneath my seat until it hits that converging line on the floor. I'm going to shade that one in just a bit darker than the other side. So I have those two lines, two vertical lines that I added that finish that leg of the chair. It's pretty much done for me because I left those construction lines in, the horizontal that went across and the vertical that went, the converging line that went back towards my vanishing point. So now I'm going to do the other leg in the front here, this one on the right-hand side. So that first vertical that I drew that made my seat, or the big square before I made my seat, I'm going to come slightly over to the left of that. I'm going to do another vertical that's underneath my seat and goes down until it hits that horizontal at the bottom. Again, this is the exact same process that I did for my desk. I'm just duplicating it for my chair now. I'm going to slightly shade that in, again, so that I can have it showing that it's the side that's facing me. So where that vertical that I just drew met the horizontal at the bottom, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the back, and I'm going to draw it back towards the back. And I'm going to take it all the way back to see if I can even make the fourth leg in the back there. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but I drew it back just in case, just to see. So now that I've drawn that in, I'm going to draw another vertical that goes over from the vertical that I made for that side of my leg. So I came over, made some space. I'm doing another vertical underneath my seat that goes down until it hits that converging line that I just made. And then I'm going to shade that a little bit darker. Because again, that's the side of the leg that faces the bed, this side of the bed. So I'm going to erase out that line at the bottom between those two legs so you can see them as separate shapes. But there's those two legs that are done in 3D space. So I'm going to go to this back leg back here, the back left leg of my chair right there. And I'm going to start by doing verticals. I would start with verticals that are straight up and down. So from that vertical, that's the edge of my seat there, I'm going to move my ruler over a bit to the right of that. And I'm going to do a vertical from underneath my seat down until it hits that converging line. And again, I'm going to shade this side just a little bit darker because again, that's the same side as this one. Again, the side that is facing the bed over there. Where that line that I just made, that vertical, meets my converging line that goes back, that point right here, I'm going to do a horizontal from there straight over. Again, a horizontal that is parallel to my horizon line. So I start from there and go straight over, and then you can see, for me at least, that it goes, it would end up going through my seat. So I can't take it over, so I'm basically not going to see this other fourth leg in the back. It's covered by the seat itself. If yours is not covered, you're going to do the same thing that you did from over here. If you can see that X that you made, then you're going to draw it up and add in your verticals just like we did for this back leg of our desk. So we could see that one and we constructed that one, but since I can't see the fourth, I can't see that X because my chair, the seat of my chair is blocking it, that means I don't have to draw it in. And since there's no space to make another vertical right here, I'm just going to lightly shade that, and that leg is done. So I'm going to erase out to the extra lines here so that you can see this as a chair. And that completes my interior or my bedroom scene in one-point perspective.